Hello everybody and welcome to Support Adventure, and in this video we are going to talk about South Africa because South Africa is becoming one of the most popular outsourcing destinations in the English-speaking world. And in order to discuss why, I've got Alex, who's a real live South African here, and we're going to talk about it. Now, we are in Bangkok, Thailand, hence the shorts. And yeah, it's an interesting place for a Canadian and a South African to talk about South Africa, sitting in the city center of Bangkok. So welcome everybody. My name is Eric. I'm the founder of Support Adventure, and Alex is one of our contract managers.
Welcome to this video. So like Eric said, we're going to discuss South Africa, what makes it great for a hire, to look at candidates from South Africa. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because I am South African, but I just want to highlight some of the factors of what makes South Africans so great in general.
Yeah, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the sort of like society and the economy and all that sort of stuff, to just sort of give people an understanding. Like, we're not going to get too deep into the mess that is South Africa, as a lot of people perceive it.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to give you some real authentic insights based on me having traveled there and Alex having been born and grown up there, being from there, and sort of how it relates to what you need to understand when you are adopting a technician from South Africa and deciding to work with people from there. And I say adopting a technician, something like when I first started this business, we used to send out cold emails that said adopt a digital nomad, and they became very, very popular. So I use that as a joke for Support Adventure. So Alex, I adopted you, was it 3 years ago or 2 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago, into the company as a contract manager. Let's start by saying, how does working for an international company like Support Adventure compare to local employment in South Africa that you were involved in before working?
Look, it's a massive adjustment, only for the better. There are benefits to working locally. You work in normal local hours. However, the country's stability is you earn in the South African rand, and I mean the rand fluctuates so much on any given day, completely out of your control. And when you're working for an international company, you're really comparing yourself to an international market. So you earn in a much better stable currency, being the dollar or the pound or whatever you may be earning in. And it really adds so much. You don't get impacted as much when you're in South Africa, and South Africans will know this, and we'll touch on this a bit later. But as soon as load shedding comes back, all of a sudden the rand takes a dive internationally. And
load shedding, for those who don't know, is a scheduled cut of electricity that occurs in South Africa. So you'll know that tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. you're not going to have power.
Yeah. I mean, and load shedding is something, maybe we should go into it now. It's something that I feel actually makes South Africans great in a way, because we are so resilient in that way. Load shedding comes
nice
in.
Spin, man. Nice spin. Yeah.
We make do. Load shedding happens. I can imagine in other countries, there'll be protests, there'll be massive uprising saying, we can't do this. How can you expect us to live like this? South Africans just go, what can you do? And we get inverters, we get solar power, we get backup power, and we live with it. Generators. And we make do, and we push through, and we really are a resilient nation when it comes to that.
That's what I really like about the South African mentality and work. Like, you guys have a very robust work ethic, and a very sort of like, well, we got to survive, got to do what it takes and build our future, whatever that looks like. Take care of yourself.
100%, yeah.
Don't have a sense of entitlement about what life has to offer you.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes into just like the day-to-day in South Africa as well. I mean, we face through a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to security and crime, and it's just something that we've become quite resilient to, and quite we embrace the change, and instead of moaning about it, we go to, okay, what's the next best thing? What's the next steps? How can we get through this? And we get through it. And the country as a whole kind of acts as a support to one another. We're very supportive. We know we're all in the same boat together, and come on, let's just get through this together. And I think that's what makes it really great and
Yeah, which is
special.
interesting because it's not exactly thing you just mentioned is not actually what you would expect in what a lot of people consider one of the most unequal societies in the world.
Yeah.
That there's that much unity for getting through trouble with people. But yeah, you do feel that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, South Africa's got a pretty dark past, and it's something that, especially in the last couple of years, I was born outside of the apartheid regime, and you really see a big community growing together and trying to correct the past, trying to kind of get behind one another and support one another. And I mean, like, it's always so funny. So South Africa is a massive rugby nation. We love rugby. Rugby is, we like to say, it's the only thing that works in South Africa is the Springboks rugby team, our national team. And when there's rugby on, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, where you grew up, what ethnicity you are, everybody gets together, and there's this whole nation of pride and just togetherness. And it gives me like goose flesh because I'm just it's such a unique thing. It's so amazing to get together.
I would argue that in the US, that where sports and stuff come into like Major League Baseball, basketball, so on and so forth. All of those differences in the US between different groups are set aside as well. So it's not entirely you. But I think what I'm trying to emphasize here is how much South Africa has in common with the US and North American culture in the context of being in a different region in the world with very different demographics and a different level of, socioeconomic factors. But it's the same sort of thing where people are, striving for the future and unifying themselves. And it really does seem a lot like America.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that really, I was amazed when I went there. The parts that I tended to go, in Joburg and Cape Town, especially Cape Town, but also Joburg. Joburg actually looks a lot like American suburbs, a lot of the places.
Yeah.
And, like being from Canada, America, USA, sorry, Americans who are watching this, but it always seemed a lot more rundown than Canada as soon as you went over the border. But maybe I'm colored my opinion is colored by the fact that I would be going into Buffalo, New York or Detroit when I go across the border in the States, which are some of the roughest parts of the US. But, yeah, South Africa has a lot in common with the US. The way people are really polite and friendly in public. The way that, just the way the gas stations look, the way that the shopping malls look, the way that the people eat, a lot of American food, the music they listen to, everything is like so spot on with America. So,
I mean, culturally, it is very close. You have to remember that most of the media we consume is from America or from the UK. And then that kind of depicts the culture as well.
Yeah.
We are culturally a lot similar to America, and I can see that coming through as well with South Africa. They just launched the nomad visa. A lot of foreign nationals come through and they go, well, this is equivalent to Europe or to the States, and they end up moving to South Africa because it's so close. They feel at home straight away.
Exactly.
Because the food's very similar. The people are always friendly. We're very welcoming. And ultimately, culturally, it's a one-to-one, I would say, almost.
I would say that, in Cape Town, I totally felt that. In Johannesburg, I felt a lot more interaction with native African cultures and stuff like that.
Yes,
so that was really interesting. But I'm just going to come out and say it. If you are looking for outstaffing destination that fits your culture, if you're a North American or British person that has an affinity and a connection with your culture, you're going to have much better results in South Africa than, for example, going to Latin America or Asia or even Eastern Europe. And let's focus on Asia, because let's say countries like Philippines and India are classic outsourcing destinations in the IT industry. What would you say is more compatible about the cultural mentality in South Africa than what you see in Asia?
Well, firstly, we are native English speakers.
No, but I would argue that people in India and Philippines are as well.
Okay.
So you don't really have that.
Okay.
But I would say that in India they have their own sort of Indian English.
Yes.
which has fairly or unfairly been stigmatized, I suppose, in a lot of places. We won't go much into that, but everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Philippines, they do speak very American.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
And,
Philippines do
you
have
know,
a
they have
very
those similar cultural reference points that you guys do in South Africa. However, I would say that both cultures have a big difference in the way that authority
yes.
is holding a place in society, in the way in psychology they call it power distance. Are you willing to speak up to a person in a position of authority over you if you do not think that they are right, if you want to voice another opinion, or is it just yes sir, yes sir, yes sir sort of mentality?
Yeah.
And I would say that in India and Philippines, they do suffer from the yes sir mentality, which is not what you want in IT.
Yeah.
You want people who are going to be able to figure things out for themselves. You want people who are going to have different options, different opinions, not just people who are following a script, and not just people who are following instructions. You want people who are going to bring unique personality and feel like they actually have the opportunity to present their unique personalities. And that's South Africa.
Yes, 100%.
Because the cultural connection is such that I think that it's common to get kind of casual in work context and have a little bit of banter and chat.
Yeah.
In a way that in England and America is normal, and in lots of countries in Asia would not be normal because they're so caught up in power hierarchies and sort of sort of wanting to save face in front of their superiors and stuff like that. Whereas in South Africa, it's just, you know, we don't have any. I grew up in Canada. You grew up in South Africa. We don't have any problems like chatting about anything.
No, 100%. I mean, and it ultimately comes down to just speaking to people like people.
Yeah.
Not following like a script, like Eric said, just having that casual conversation, using common sense, and just having just a general chat. Any problem can be resolved. There's ways to work around things. There's also what Eric said about challenging authority. If you don't want to have that yes sir mindset, you'll say, maybe don't you think we can do things like this rather?
Those
Or
sorts of conversations that if you're hiring somebody who has a brain for their brain, you want
Exactly.
to have from them.
Yeah.
Because you, as they bring interesting counterpoints to the table when you're trying to suggest things, they're helping you work out your decisions.
100%.
And in having those conversations, you will be able to trust them more in making their own decisions in the role, which is what every business leader or manager really wants in their company. They just tend to fall into bad habits of micromanagement, so on and so forth, when you know they fall into those bad habits because you know they lose that trust because of whatever you know incompetence or miscommunication might occur. And what I'm really trying to say is that that sort of trust, that sort of fluid working relationship, that's also sometimes when it needs to be casual and friendly, that's what you'll get from South Africa versus a lot of the other outsourcing destinations around the world. And a cultural connection like nothing else that we at Support Venture, after 10 years of going around the entire planet, have found. And that's why so many of our people are from South Africa.
Yeah. And look, I mean, you're hiring somebody based on their experience. It's good to bring in that experience and say, let them challenge your opinions. Let them challenge the way you're doing things based on their experience and have that friendly approach to things.
Me personally, like the way I run my business, as you know, I am the final decision maker, but I always want the whole panel of experts to weigh in so that I can, you know, adjust my thinking, enhance the resolution of my thinking, get different opinions, people who have noticed stuff that I haven't noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to where we tried to go in the earlier parts of the video. Differences in working conditions, working for a local South African firm versus working for a foreign firm. At Support Venture, we did the numbers last week. We are paying like something like 2 to 4 times the amount that people would make in a local job, and that's pretty good in and amongst itself. Now we have some competition in the industry that is paying less. Now, some companies that you know copied our business model and are you know paying people less, but for us, it's really important to pay people well. That's the obvious benefit
Yes.
of hiring, of being hired by a international company.
Yeah.
working for countries like the US and UK. What are the other benefits? Because I've heard lots of things from the guys about unpaid overtime and toxic work cultures and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Look, so working locally, and look, your experience may vary, but there is this mentality of you say, I do, meaning that companies would like somebody to, you need to stay on for this project. It's not going to be paid in any way. It's very authoritarian in that approach. And yeah, working for one of our clients who we vet, we make sure that they're great clients, that they have the right office culture, the right environment, environment where contractors can thrive.
Right, SOPs, right, sort of way of managing the text focus so that they're not constantly distracted and that they have all the information they need to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try, it's a lot more, like it's a much fairer approach because firstly, no one's working for free. No one's working unpaid overtime. Everything is structured in a
Yeah,
way
support
where,
venture, that's how we structure it.
yeah,
We're not sure about, if you're a contractor and you go and get a job at a US MSP directly, you might get some of these toxic practices, but at support venture as the staffing company, our job is to actually get the best clients. We're going to
yeah,
give the best environment for the best contractors that we can find and match them together in a way that the expectations are managing. And no unpaid overtime is one of those
one of the big
expectations.
things.
Now, some people still do it. And when we find out about it, we're like, guys, come
Naturally.
on, please.
Yeah.
Please. No, you shouldn't work because they got so used to that.
Yeah.
But for us, it's all about, making the conditions great so we can make stable contracts that will last for years.
Yes, yeah.
And
We try
we've
to
got
set the contract as much as possible for success from the get-go. Because, I mean, we want contracts that last for years and years and years. And we want, and to achieve that, we need to make sure that both parties are happy. So clients happy, contractors happy. So we have certain things that we look out for right in the beginning. We provide guidance from the beginning to try to set up the contract for success as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to that, let's. People are probably curious about lots of things about South Africa. Now, the elephant in the room is you, my brother, do not look that African.
Yeah.
You actually, I'm Central European, and you've got features just like mine. And what's up with that?
Yeah, look, I mean, South Africa is very diverse. We kind of a melting pot of many different cultures. And I am probably as South African as they come. If I've done my kind of ancestry research, I always say that my ancestors, my forefathers arrived on the boats when they landed in South Africa. But it's such a diverse
So you
culture.
trace yourself back to the Dutch settlement
Basically,
in the
yeah.
1600s,
In
right?
the 1600s, yeah.
Wow,
with
that's amazing.
Jan.
Okay, that's the name of the person?
Jan van Riebeck, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's there's a lot of different cultures there. There's a lot of
But historically, your people were coming from the Dutch.
Yes.
And then so what happened when the British took over?
Yeah, well, then that brought in a lot of English culture there too.
Yeah.
A lot of the Dutch culture was actually.
So do you speak Afrikaans?
I speak Afrikaans.
Ja,
Ik kan die taal praten.
Ja?
Ja.
Ja, goed. Wenn ik hoor Afrikaans, kan ik nur auf Deutsch reden.
Een beetje. Ons kan verstaan een beetje van allemaal, maar.
Ik kan sorry, I'm speaking German and he's speaking Afrikaans.
Yeah, well, that's.
But there's similar continental European dialects which have,
Yeah.
been sort of like changed.
Yeah, it's a lot
changed,
a lot of changes made. I mean, it's funny if I meet. I mean, traveling now, we're in Bangkok, and often I'll hear someone speaking Dutch, and I'll have to take a double look because I'm like, no, they're not South African. Yeah.
Cool. So you descend from Dutch settlers, and but you grew up mostly speaking English, right?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up mostly speaking English. I mean, we also. Growing up, it's in my school, in my primary school, it's compulsory to learn an African language. So I learned Zulu.
Yeah.
which
Can you say something in Zulu?
Sanibonani. That's kind of it. I've lost my ability.
So
I can say a
growing
lot
up in
of
Canada, I had to learn French. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Yeah, yeah,
It's,
yeah. Ça va bien?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
basic.
like that. Probably a similar sort of level.
Yeah,
They started us in grade 4, so we were like
yeah. I started
9
grade
years old.
3.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
9
it's
years old learning a language. It's a little late for kids to pick it up, and they
yeah,
didn't teach it in the most fun way. So it's similar with Zulu, but you grew up with Afrikaans and English,
and
and
English.
English is your main language.
Yeah,
And for a lot of Afrikaners, it's also true that you will go out into society, and even if you speak Afrikaans at home, you will speak
English.
English
Yes. Yeah.
in government institutions and
Yeah.
most shops and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. English is by far the
Lingua franca, we call it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's spoken widely in South Africa. I mean, it's
So
by
no
far
issue
the most,
there.
yeah.
Now, what is it like growing up as in the time that you grew up as a person of European descent in South Africa? I mean, obviously, we know that the apartheid regime fell before you were born,
Yeah.
and you were growing up in a time where the institutions were being remodeled and stuff like that. A lot of, it's kind of controversial to talk about, but let's just briefly dip into it.
Yeah, so look, I mean, from a younger self, when you're growing up, you can sense that there, from the older generation, there is a little bit more of a pushback in certain aspects, certain ways. Not everybody, but you do feel that sense of tension,
And things changed.
and that things change, and not
I mean, I know
everybody
it
was
from
supportive.
Serbia.
Because,
You know, in Serbia, it was like living in Serbia where I spent a lot of where I started Support Adventure. It was like lots of people. They had Yugoslavia, which was like a time when things were better for most of the Serbs there, and then war broke out, and
yeah,
well, people in Croatia and Slovenia might not be so nostalgic for that, yeah. But like definitely things changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then,
Like things. So it's like, but you guys still hold a lot of the wealth in the country and power.
yeah, well,
Is that do you have any sort of existential crisis? I'm asking because people probably about being
yeah, I mean, there's always a concern about what's going to happen in
is
the
it
country.
practical safety concerns about your
Concerns about the country as a whole.
concerns about the past sort of for your
Yeah,
generation are overwhelmingly more impactful than thinking about the misdeeds of history and stuff like
yes,
that.
yeah,
So it's more of a like today we're all here, let's see how we can work together, everybody stay safe and prosper as a country.
100%. And you can still see that divide of what happened with apartheid. Yeah, there's a massive African community, like all throughout South Africa, who are still feeling the stress and the struggles from apartheid. They
Yeah.
still live in really disadvantaged. I mean, it's funny, like if
But
you
there's also now I watched some stuff on YouTube that there's also like lots of ghettos that have really poor white people as well
yes,
there as
yeah,
well, and it's like everybody suffers from the situation there, and and just to be clear, at Support Adventure, we have people who are South African Black, South African White, South African Indian, Chinese,
yeah,
and mixes of all of them together. And
together.
it's like we embrace the country of South Africa as a whole while looking for the most competent people that we can find in that country who can demonstrate their competence through our training and testing program. So that's our thing, and we love them all. And I went to South Africa last year for the meetups, and it was just great to meet everybody and see the diversity of that you can have within a country like that. And
Yeah.
even people like one guy from Serbia moved to South
South
Africa,
Africa,
and it's just like I spent a lot of time growing Support Adventure being based in Belgrade, and it's like, hey man, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
It's because it's a lovely country with lovely people, and while it's kind of edgy because of the crime security situation, the people that you do end up talking to and in shops and stuff like that, they're usually very friendly. And me personally, if I'm going to tell you, like I've been twice for 2 weeks, and the reason I don't want to be there more is because of all the stories I hear and the
Yeah.
statistics about how much crime there is, how much murder there is, how much danger there is. And I didn't have a situation with myself personally while
it's-
walking down the street there, but in Joburg, I didn't really feel comfortable
No.
walking down the street, certainly at night. And
Yeah.
I would go to the gym walk to the gym maybe like 4 blocks and just take enough money to pay for the gym
Yeah.
and a secondary burner phone that that I was carrying just to figure out on the map where the gym was. You know,
Yeah.
that's my safety thing. But I didn't have any bad situation. But, you know, on my day off in Joburg, it was like, what can I do?
Yeah.
I guess I can take a taxi to the shopping mall. And then I go to the shopping mall, get bored of the shopping mall. Guess I can now take a taxi back to the hotel. I didn't like that, but Cape
Yeah.
Town,
Cape Town's
where you
completely
live,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's completely different. What's your neighborhood called where I stayed?
Sea Point.
Sea Point, right?
Yeah.
I was really happy to walk around there.
Yeah.
And you know, Camps Bay, really lovely as well. It's
Beautiful.
super friendly people, unique vibe, one of the most beautiful cities in the world. So guys, if you want to check it out, yeah,
Highly
definitely.
recommend it.
You know,
Yeah.
do your research. Stay safe, but it's worth the considerations to go
Yeah.
to South Africa.
Look, it's such a beautiful, like Cape Town is it's honestly one of the most beautiful cities I've ever gone to. I had a privilege of living there and just experiencing Cape Town for what it is. It does have some danger points to it. It's not all sunshine and roses. But if you just alert, if you're aware that, look, I shouldn't be walking on my phone in public for the fear it might get just snatched out of my hand.
Yeah, and
Cover your
you
jewelry.
gotta. I
Yeah.
find like in South Africa, like walking down the street at night in Cape Town when I've got my burner phone and like you know just like enough cash to get what I
Yeah.
need. People do come up to you. They are asking for money.
Yeah.
They all sort of stuff. And I found that the best way is to do a sort of walk where you just puff up your shoulders and just sort
Just
of like
walk. Yeah.
do a little walk so you look like you know where you're going. And
Yeah.
otherwise, if there's people around you, always just like nod, say hello, and make eye contact.
Yeah.
Them, maybe smile, and make it seem like you're aware of your surroundings. But that's just general like Gringo 101 safety tips anywhere. You know, like
Yeah.
I've been to Colombia where there's lots of people scoping me out. Mexico, you know, like all these different places where crime does happen to foreigners and crime does happen to locals as well. And South Africa is one of those places.
Yep.
How do you feel being you in Thailand now?
It's
You know, like walking the streets of Bangkok, walking, you know, different places in Thailand. How does that feel when
Look,
you're from a place where your radar always has to be engaged, where you can just walk around here and like
you don't have to worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are some sketchy parts, but
there's some
majority
scams, but
majority of the time, yeah, it's super safe.
Yeah.
I don't have any worries. The funniest thing in Thailand is anytime somebody asks where I'm from and I say South Africa, is the looks that you get like,
yeah,
but you what? And
yeah,
it's like, well, no, that's not how it is. But like, as soon as they hear Africa, they just assume that it's going to be a person of color that's coming to Thailand. But it's
interesting.
it's so safe.
So let's talk about the last thing. It's great.
Yeah.
But leaving South Africa, so lots of people who get jobs with us. I mean, the way I started hiring South Africans was in Panama. Ran into some over there, and that went well. And then next thing you know, we were hiring a manager, Nick, who was originally from South Africa, grew up in London, and is our service delivery manager and client relations manager now. And basically, like it all went really well from there. But lots more people want to leave South Africa.
Yeah.
Because of the safety, the economic concerns, the safety concerns, the sort of trajectory of the country. There's fears about that. What does it mean for you now that you have this job in Supported Venture where you can work from anywhere and you get to try the different places and stuff like that? What makes you want to go back to South Africa, and what makes you want to set up a base somewhere else?
So, I mean, obviously setting up a base somewhere else is, it alleviates those concerns about the trajectory of the country. Like I said,
as long as you can get out, if you're there,
the country is, no one knows what's going to happen. A month ago, everybody's like, oh, we're growing, everything's going well. And then all of a sudden a news headline comes out and the rand takes a dive and tensions rise in the country.
Load shedding's
coming back or whatever it may be.
Blows or whatever,
I mean, and not to get political, but like there's certain aspects, there's a lot of corruption within the government in South Africa. And it's completely out of a citizen's control. we can't control what's happening with the government. We can't control where money is getting spent. We don't have a decent public transport system, so we rely mostly on Ubers. And you come to a country like Thailand, well, we're in Bangkok now, and you can just jump on the train to go anywhere, and it's super cheap, and it's so nice to have that freedom. And I think that's what a lot of people get like. It's appealing to a lot of people to have the great state infrastructure set up where things work. But saying that, what always makes you want to go home to South Africa, for me, home, is the country itself. It's funny. It's a common saying that South Africa is not a country; it's a feeling. And overall, you feel very at home in the chaos because we grew up in the chaos. We understand the chaos, and it becomes a part of you. And it goes back to that resilience. We know what we're not supposed to be doing. No, we can't walk out at night with our phone. So we make a plan. We try make an arrangement and try overcome that. And it's something special about that. I don't know how to describe it. I can't put it into words, but it's something very unique to South Africans. We feel very proud about our situation, how we can overcome that resilience and how we can overcome those issues and have that resilience.
So it sounds like a certain trauma bonding with the
It's trauma bonding,
and
it is 100%
like,
trauma bonding.
Yeah, it's so much a part of your identity to be there in a little bit of a chaotic or sometimes massively chaotic situation, and you just want to like embrace that part of you, and you miss it when you're gone.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's funny.
I think a lot of people from Eastern Europe and Latin America can probably identify with that as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of immigration. A lot of citizens are leaving South Africa, but there's a lot of reverse immigration as well, where people are coming back because they go across to London, to the UK, and they stay there for a couple of years, and they come back home to SA. And they go, this is so much better.
I've never lived in worse conditions than when I moved to London in 2011. You know, like I was staying in a council estate, which is basically their way of saying slums, government housing slums. And if I was in East London near a tube station called Mile End. And my mother visited from Canada, and she almost cried when she saw where I was living. And that was £500 a month. And, you know, the weather was miserable. That's when I wrote, had to get a full-time job. I was always working for myself in Canada. Had to get a full-time job, which I lasted 8.5 months in, started in January. And it was dark when I went to work, and it was dark when I went home. Rainy, and not like, you know, in Canada, it's like -5, -10 Celsius, some snow in the winter. But winter in England was like rainy, cold, and that's sort of rainy and cold that it's just above freezing, and you get wet, and it's just so much more cold when you're wet than snow. I don't know how to explain this any better, but it's just you know, especially for people like you who haven't seen much snow in their lives. And so like it was like the West is not always the best. All the places I've lived in Serbia were just much more livable than what I had in England, you know, and a lot of the stuff that I have in Thailand now is much better than I've had anywhere else in terms of standards of living, conveniences, modern conveniences, and basically like just the way stuff works. So, and South Africa is one of those places where, you know, like it doesn't really cost a lot to have a really good
quality of life. Yeah.
I mean, it's really a shame that so many of the people are, you know, starving and living in disadvantaged situations.
Yeah.
But for you guys, I really understand it. It's just, for me, being a visitor, knowing the statistics, seeing like, hearing the stories, seeing the poverty, it's kind of... it's kind of hard for me as an outsider to say I want to live there. 100%. But 2 weeks every couple of years, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But, look, you know, it's not a forever home for me at all. It's like, you know, maybe, and also the thing for me is like, as someone who travels the world, you know, ending up in that sort of like affluent bubble in South Africa, it's not that different than what I'm coming from in Canada. At the end of the day, you guys do have a more resilience than the people in Canada. Definitely. The people in Canada are, you know, like, they're soft because life is too easy there. It's getting harder now. Actually, it's becoming much harder in Canada. That's what my recent trip taught me. But, you know, at the end of the day, South Africa for me, beautiful place, fascinating society, great people. It's been a great place to hire people, but it's not for the risk versus reward thing. For
It's
me
not,
personally, it's not
yeah.
a place where I want to spend a lot of time, but I'm so grateful for all of you wonderful people who have joined Support Adventure and allowed us to, really make people in the US open-minded about hiring you guys
Yeah.
and giving you a chance, despite the hesitance. So anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to bring up, or can we start
No.
winding down?
Yeah, let's wind down. So yeah, I mean, just like what you said, I mean, it's a very lateral move to come from, say, the States. If you coming from LA and you're going to come experience Cape Town, it'll feel like Los Angeles. It's going to
Yeah,
feel
definitely.
very much the same, besides for that
With a
lingering.
slightly different accent.
Yes,
Yeah.
the slightly, but still, it's a very, our accents aren't very overpowering. They're not a strong
It
accent.
depends, okay.
Yeah, you
I'd
get,
say that when hiring people from South Africa,
yeah,
I mean, we get like 1,000 applications a week. There's a whole range, depending what the native language is. Like it ranges from something that sounds really different than American English to something that sounds, I'd say, more like British or Australian,
Australian, yeah,
but is very palatable and
yes,
even prestigious to
yeah,
the ear of an
yeah,
American, right? So you really have to,
yeah,
really, like, if you're watching this as an MSP owner and you're just like, yeah, support a venture, whatever, I'm just gonna post ads on South African job boards. We get 1,000 a week, maybe like a couple hundred from South Africa, and sorting through those is a huge task because of the diversity of the country, the diversity of skill sets, education, experience, all that sort of stuff, and cultural backgrounds and stuff like that. It varies massively. So if you want to have the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop
yeah,
of our 3-member team of senior engineers on the recruitment team, are constantly sorting through these people and finding the people who present well and know their tech and know how to behave on a ticketing system and escalate and do great work in IT glue and documentation, all that sort of stuff. I'm selling our business now because if I want there to be a takeaway, Support a venture, we got great people like Alex who you can hire today.
yeah.
So thanks a lot for taking the time to get to know Alex today. And Alex, thank
Yeah.
you for taking the time to tell your story and promote your country.
Yeah, yeah. And guys, look, I mean, you're going to get some really, really great technicians from Support Adventure, but the South Africans, I would like to say, are some standouts.
Yeah.
I've had so many clients say, wow, like they were blown away saying these guys are better than any guy we've got locally in the last couple of years. Please give us more. Who do you have more to present? And yeah, we get some really, really great technicians.
Yeah, but it's not just South
definitely-
Africa. Our
It's
system
all the
works
way
for the whole
the
world.
whole world.
Yeah.
But choose a South African.
Hey, you're supposed to be impartial as a contract manager. You're supposed to actually give everyone a shot. Are you telling me that you're rigging the system to support your own country?
No, look,
We're gonna have to talk about this at the meeting. No, they are the best guys.
Yeah.
He's right. So yeah, that's
Cool.
it. Supportadventure.com. If you want to become a client, click on MSP staffing at the top. I believe that's what it's called, but you fill out a become a client form. Then you can book a fast track call with the man himself, Alex. If you're really excited about working with us, he'll get you there in record speed. It's a 90-minute call, isn't it?
90-minute call. I
And
present
we'll
some
just-
candidates
we'll just-
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll make sure it's a good match and show you who we got. And otherwise, you can do a sales intro call, and we'll learn more about you and your business, and we'll take it a little bit slower. But the fast track call with Alex is what I would recommend if you already had the time to watch this whole video and get to know our business and Alex himself and the country. And if you're watching this from South Africa, I'm sure you're very grateful for all the nice things we said about you. If you want to become a Support Adventure contractor, then please apply on our website and supportadventure.com. Hope you enjoyed this, and greetings from Bangkok, and
Cool.
talk to you soon.
Cheers.